Hey, welcome to Unshaved. I'm Takesha, and this podcast came to be simply because I wanted to archive conversations between me and my mother. And because we talked about pursuing a creative project together for a long time now, I just figured starting a podcast would kind of fit the bill for both. Our lives and relationship have had many twists, turns, highs, and lows, and the way we've gotten through them always started with raw conversations. We're consistently pursuing a deeper understanding of not only each other and our relationship, but also of ourselves. If the topics and conversations explored in this space help you to navigate your journey in any way, then that's even better. So whether it's just myself or if I'm joined by my mom or other guests, you can expect content that is explorative, honest, and maybe even just a little bit outside the lines. Welcome to Unshaved. Thank you to those of you who are returning listeners, as well as to those of you tuning in for the very first time. We've put out some pretty heavy subject matters the past few weeks, and it's really touched me how so many of you have reached out to share how these conversations have inspired you in different ways. It means a lot, more than I can really put into words at this time, that these personal experiences I've shared with my mother have had such a positive impact. I love to hear that some of you are reflecting on your own relationships and are open to exploring ways to make them healthier. My parents weren't perfect. And there were a lot of times in my life where that was completely devastating to me. Perhaps your parents didn't struggle with addiction, but in this physical experience or incarnation of life, I've learned that we all struggle with things. Parents are no exception. Our bodies and energy fields are full of so much memory. Oftentimes, as grown people, we spend our adulthoods working through childhood traumas or issues. So much of who we are is established in very early years of life. Even if we portray to have it all together, like a perfect image, we're simply imperfect people that are doing the best that we know how at any given time. A lot of us choose to decide early on that life is in black and white. And we don't give room for the gray area, not to mention the colors of life that we completely avoid or are kind of blinded to or blind to. I really believe that we would have more positive outcomes in our relationships with one another if we try not to be so hard on each other and develop understanding of our loved ones and the experiences that they've had in their lives and how that total has gotten to the sum of who they are at this point in their journey, and not focus so much on the role that they play in our lives. If we think about our relationships like vehicles, we want them to run as smoothly as possible. In order to do so, we have to maintain them. There's really no way around that. This would ensure that we're safe on the road, or if we're talking about relationships, maintaining our mental and emotional health. Unaddressed trauma in one relationship, especially significant ones, usually impacts our other relationships in some way, and often will suppress the root causes and bury them so deep that we don't even understand our own anger and rage. And yes, we can be angry with smiles on our faces, walking around like ticking time bombs, not understanding our unrational outburst and repeating patterns from one experience to another when they have absolutely no relation. We have to heal. We have to heal. We have to heal. We deserve to be whole and healed. And it's our personal responsibility to see to it. The only person that can save you is you. We can be encouraged, inspired, and even cheered on by others, but no one else can do the actual work for us. Oftentimes people will say that they're a work in progress, and there's nothing in and of itself amiss with that statement, as long as there is actual work being done. We're human beings, not perfect, and we don't even need to be, whatever that expectation or idea we put on ourselves may even look like individually. The question is, how are we actually being? How are we relating in our relationships? How are we relating in our relationships? Let's not be afraid to dig within and get to the root of these things that have happened in our lives that may hinder us in any way, so that we can continue to grow to the next best version of ourselves. It may not be that the relationships are in any grave state. We'll take our vehicles to an auto mechanic or an auto body shop for all sorts of reasons. They range from tire rotations, oil changes, engine issues, or from our side mirrors being swiped, fender benders, to even more serious collisions. And there are those times with cars and even in relationships where they've suffered enough damage or violation that, we might be dealing with a total loss. Contrary to a popular cliche, out of sight is not necessarily out of mind. Definitely not out of our field of energy. The major difference here when a total loss occurs in relationships, even though that relationship may have ended, the other person may have transitioned, or there are certain boundaries now that make for a major shift in the dynamic or interaction, we're still left to deal with these injuries to our emotional makeup. Because hurt people hurt other people. We can only give what we have in us to give. Within, without. And in this analogy, we can think of the mechanic or auto body shop as outside resources such as therapists, counselors, and even mediators that can help us to navigate the struggles that, we feel are too heavy to unpack alone. It is okay to seek help. We cannot just operate in survival mode in our relationships for the sake of keeping them going without chipping away at ourselves to some degree. Let's strive to live in light and love. I appreciate you for making time to listen in to this episode of Unshaved. Thank you. I genuinely hope you've enjoyed the show. If you have questions or suggestions for topics to explore, please email unshaved.podcast@gmail.com. Be sure to indicate if you'd like to be mentioned if your feedback or questions are addressed. I take it that you've enjoyed the content since you've made it this far. Depending on the platform you're hearing this on, let me know so we can really engage with one another. So drop a comment, click the star, download, subscribe, applaud, click the like button, and share this with others. Unshaved is on Facebook and Instagram. Also, you can show the show some love through donations on Anchor. Last but not least, remember you can turn on your notifications so you'll know when we're back with new episodes. Till then, let's continue to live with love and light.